Hello, hello, and welcome back, everybody. Hey, Krasner. Hey, Bongo. First, indeed. Good morning. Yeah, so yesterday was pretty good. There's a lot that I learned, and there is a lot still left to do. So, one of the things that I was struggling with a bit toward the end, and my brain was fried, so I didn't look into this any further, is how to make this line look better. And one of the things I realized is we probably shouldn't use named properties for this. Like, does it really help that much? Probably not. So the difference is this string versus this string. So 0 and 1, and then you would need to pass in damage and mischance in that order. Life's going well. I'm feeling pretty good. There's a lot of stuff to do here. I am hoping that translation doesn't take like all of November, or localization, I guess. And yeah, there's a lot to still explore there because we got to move back to finishing the game and then marketing and testing and achievements and the new trailer. And yeah, we're going to be busy bees. So yeah, with named params, order doesn't matter. And it's probably a bit clearer for translations. We use indexes for our auto translate stuff because it means we keep our dev side of things consistent across all languages. Yeah, I guess that's actually something I hadn't thought of, which is if we just run this through Google Translate. So let's say I do this, and let's say we replace the numbers. Okay. So here we have it. This might be a French string. I don't know if it's correct or not, but this would say damage, and this would say mischance, which I guess is a little bit strange because there's English amongst another language, in this case, French. You'd have English strings in translated text. Yeah. I think I want to use the numbered ones. The text is smaller. This is a very minor thing. Order matters for parameters. It may be slightly unusual for other languages if they have to swap the parameter order. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about this. Now, reading what ABC said yesterday, because I'm still not totally sure I understood this at the time. Where is what ABC said? I don't even know anymore. I'll just search for ABC. There it is. String format will not work with something in string because it tries to parse it as format. You need to escape it or change it first. Expects index : format. Oh, I wonder, can we just keep that the way that it was? Like if I do this 0 and 1 and then format it like so. Does that work? A lot of ours do swap orders for other languages, but if you use indexes, our parse function was only a couple lines. I think we use indexes. We don't need to do anything special, although I'm not totally sure. This is calling format. Doesn't string just have a format thing? What format is this calling? Hey, Matt. We jam? What is this doing? Because this may not be the string version of this. And maybe there's a better way of doing this anyway. Let me press F12. It's our format. Okay, that's not the format that I want. How do I stop it from being that format? I probably need to get rid of this. Writing an app to hit an LLM to do some translating? Only sort of. So the today command kind of has the different pieces. What we're working on now is just assume we have all the translated strings. How would we use them? And I'm trying to figure out what like formatting we want within our strings. Then I have to go and change all the formatting we have. There's a lot of different parts of this though. As far as extracting strings from the code base, what we used to be doing is finding literally every string. So as an example of why that's bad, this is a color string. This shouldn't be translated, but we were finding this before. Same thing with this. This is a path. This shouldn't be translated. So we'd find all of these. And if I were to just feed these into an LLM, I'd have to be like, okay, ignore that one, ignore that one. I'd rather just find all the ones that we should be using. And we can do that, but then we need to call a function every single time. So like a translate function, for example. And yeah, there's just a lot of little pieces I've still got to figure out here. So that's what we're trying to do. I'm just going to look this up, string format, because I'm still confused at what the actual thing is. It's capitalized string.format? Huh, really? I didn't think that was the case. Where did that string go? Here. Return string.format. And then what? We just put in the numbers here? String does not exist in the current context. And wait, you don't need that? I'm so confused. This name, oh, I see. Use lowercase string. Okay, that's fine. All right, does that work? Hey, Zelytics. Hey, Flair. One of my books is in a humble bundle. I'm waiting the whole day to make this joke. Oh, yeah? Did they tell you they'd follow up with you, but then they didn't? Because if so, that would make for a really interesting story. All right, this looks good. But what happens when we change it to Spanish? Oh, that's going to break, right? Because I don't have the translated string anymore. So I got to run this and then open up the Spanish file. And then this one is considered fuzzy at this point. So we delete the fuzzy bit here and replace this with 0 as a mischance chance to miss. Okay, then we switch to Spanish, save and quit, and reload. Yeah, Spanishly shoots because I don't know I don't know Spanish. So this is just a way of indicating that we translated it correctly. Spanish shot. Spanishly shoots at a single enemy. Nice. Okay, cool. It's working. How goes translate? Well, I think it's going well, but again, this is just the scaffolding and I'm still just trying to figure out what do I want to do? What am I comfortable with? What's the most ergonomic thing? So here, for example, we have string.format and then a translated string and then the particular things that go into it. Now, if we were to put 3 things into here, like if I put a comma, I think this is going to outright break because it's going to try, wait, maybe it won't. Maybe it just knows that it doesn't use this one. Maybe the other way around will break if I delete one. I think it's fine now. Yeah, it's fine now. And that presumably didn't even cause an error. No, these are unrelated. But if I were to delete this, it would cause an error. And we would only discover it at runtime. So now if I try to look at this tooltip, it's going to break. Yeah. So it says index must be greater than or equal to the size of the argument list. So yeah, we only discover this at runtime. That's the benefit of what we used to do here. I wonder, I don't think this would be easy to check in any other way unless we used something like a source generator. I have the same issue in my game, can't find out during compile time. Well, the thing is, what we have already, we can find out during compile time, this style, because what this does is we have a source generator that's going to go through this and form a function. If I can, let me see if I can find this for you. Yeah, so this. It actually makes a function that takes in exactly 2 parameters. So if these aren't specified, it'll know at build time that it doesn't exist. So for example, if I delete this mischance from here and I try building this, it should fail. And it might be worth keeping that. Yeah, it says there's no argument that corresponds to it. So that's our source generator way. And that's the main benefit we get. You didn't want to go with Godot's translation layer? No, we're still going with Godot's translation layer. That's what this translate comes from. It's just we have this source generator way of doing things already that also then hooks into the Godot way of doing things. And it's for the sake of being able to name parameters like this. So the old way we would do this is call get description and pass in damage colon this and mischance colon this. And that way they're named based on what we put into the string. This new way that I'm talking about, we just use numbers, and then the order of this list matters, and there's no way to know at build time that we passed in the right number of things. Hey, Meridio. If you hover over it, it should say it's missing a parameter. It's just not an error. Oh, you're saying like if I did this again and this? Yeah, no argument given that corresponds to the required parameter. Yeah. So I wonder if there's like, this is the main thing we got to think about here. Because, okay, ergonomics wise, I think this is good. Well, actually, is it? I don't know. Here we just, well, the way we would have had this is this would have been over here, and it wouldn't have been a get description. It would have been something else. And I guess we need the context for it if we're going to do that. Although the context for this doesn't really matter, because it's a description, and the descriptions should only ever be this one thing. Let me take a look at something really fast. Okay. Yeah, it would look like this. So how many lines of code is this? 1, 2, 3, whoops, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But that's because of this that's here. And now it's 5 again. Okay. Yeah. Ergonomics wise, I think it's okay. So C# format string check number of parameters at build time. I'm just curious. Is there a way to do this? Because the big question I have is, should we keep our source generator? And I don't know. I don't know what I want to do. Also, there's this smart format thing. Yeah, so that's the main benefit of the source generator. It lets us know at build time. Where did I write this down? Because I definitely wrote this down somewhere. Yeah, the main benefit of the source generator is knowing that the number of parameters will match. Oh man, okay, but couldn't we do this anyway? The template string? Yeah, we could do this anyway. I guess we could just write a tool that does it. It's basically a source generator, but it wouldn't generate any source. It would just validate the source. Yeah, I guess we could do that. Although I don't know how hard it is to do that. We would need translate to essentially just return the first string that's passed into it and then validate that the number of params that we have here matches this number. So the other aspect of source generators is that we are literally generating code. I mean, this entire file, this is 3,500 lines of just like wrapper functions. Yeah. Which I guess is not really a big deal. Yeah. This is about 100 kilobytes. So even if we fully translated everything, it'd be like a megabyte maybe. And the function call is not significant overhead. Hey, Phil. Good morning. Have you heard of solid principles? If only it's weren't source generated. It specifically allows me to build my classes in one language, have it generate the classes in another. Man. Yeah, how big of a deal is this? Like, here's what I was thinking. Man, this is so difficult. So when it comes to source generators, I'm gonna put this over here. Well, I guess let's keep that there. When it comes to source generators, the main benefit is knowing that the number of parameters will match a template string at build time. We could still have a generator that checks this without emitting functions. That way we could still know at build time, but just not use any, just not generate extra code. Yeah. Alternatively, we could make a tool that analyzes each translation to make sure that the same number of parameters is used as in English, and then trust that we checked to make sure the English strings all work. Hey, Chef Alton. Yeah, we have 3 options. Well, maybe we have 4 options. Option 1, keep source generators. I gotta go to this pull request. Keep source generators. See this PR. Okay, option 2 is have a generator that only checks validity without emitting functions. Option 3 is make a tool that analyzes each translation. And option 4 is have no real checking and leave it up to exceptions for each language. Back to work. Got 2 weeks to finish my project for a big trade show. Nice. Good luck. And in case you need even more luck, you can use the cheat code you've got typed in there. Run right, run right, run right. Just say that aloud and you'll go at 3 times the speed. But say it aloud 4 times and you die. So be careful. All right, so my issue with source generators is that they're not very ergonomic, at least not the way that we have it. So the way that we have to do this right now is we add a special class here. This class needs 2 annotations. And then we need imports for those things. So there's this one and there's some other thing here, code analysis maybe. So we need 2 imports. We need a special class. We need to turn this class partial. And then when it comes to using these, we need to call a function now that gets generated. And I don't like that. That's as opposed to doing this, where we literally just write the string directly in the code and we're done. So yeah. Oh no, I said it 4 times. Goodbye. It was nice knowing you. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. My issue with source generators is that they take a lot to switch to. If you write the code with hard-coded, well, if you start with hard-coded strings, you need to make a new private static partial class with 2 special attributes, import 2, what do you call the things you import? I don't know, import 2 modules, I'll just say. Make the parent class partial, and then change the hard-coded strings to be, whoops, messages.getFoo calls. if you don't use source generators, then all you need to do is call translate and import translation server. Hey, Ryan. Yeah, the whoops that just happened there. So the question is, how big of a deal is it to get this type checking? And I think it's pretty important. Like, I think option 4 is a bad option here. Option 3 is only a partial solution. Well, it's not really a partial solution. I guess I do check the English strings. And option 2 doesn't sound too bad. Well, I don't know how hard it would be to do. Option 2 is probably the best. So we would need to detect code like this and then check to make sure if it's in a string format that the number of parameters in this matches the number of parameters passed in. Hey, Cradlefish. Oh, hang on a second. What just happened? My wife called. I don't know. Hang on one second. Hang on. I'll be right back. Okay, she's not answering. I don't know what that was about. That was a quick update regarding Godot and Rust. The Rust code builds in less than a second, so doing incremental changes and testing is very easy, but I'm not using Bevy in order to see the need. Using Godot Rust bindings library, it's kind of awesome. Nice. Yeah, cool. I'm glad it's up and running. It'd be a Roslyn analyzer if it only needs to check. Yeah, I guess that's what we do. So make an analyzer that just checks validity without emitting functions. Retired Android, thanks for the resub. Happy 19 months. And hi, ABC and Chaos. Chaos. I think my wife left and forgot something from home and was hoping that I would get it. Because I heard a door close and I hear her leaving again now. So yeah, I'm assuming that everything has been figured out. Let me just make sure she hasn't called again. Yeah. Did you walk home from the grocery store again? Oh man. That was 6 years ago. Wow. Yeah, so an analyzer I think would be good. I wonder how hard it is to do that though. Because I don't think it was hard, or I don't think it was easy to write the source generator. Hmm. Yeah. Hmm. Maybe I don't worry about this for now. So this sounds like the best option since it doesn't require us to do anything special. Doesn't require us to run another build step for validation. So we would still need to do this. Yeah. See how easy it would be to make a Roslyn analyzer to validate the number of parameters passed to formatted translated strings. Okay, so we got part of this done. I did not do any of the pluralization stuff yet. So let's take a look at this. Can we format strings without using a source generator? Yes. What do we do about pluralized strings or strings with context? I think I meant parameters. Formatted parameters. I think we just call in to translate with the correct string formatted from C# already. Not heard that towing story. Yeah, not one of my finer moments. Oh, man. All right, well, pluralized string should be pretty simple, right? Pluralized string. Don't we have a... We have plural message. We only have, what, one of these? Literally one? How does it even know how to use this? Get tooltip text must do something special, right? Points and then n points. Object points into n. Okay. Okay, so where is this? Party member? And it just tells you if you have unspent skill points. All right, let's go find the string. It should be pretty simple to find it. And then we need to make it work with pluralization. And it should be easy to do that too. And the other thing I need to figure out is, what do we do about BB code formatting? Like, this is nonsense. How do I paste this in a better way? Like that. What? Yeah, whatever. Yeah, I don't really care. All right, then let's just do that. I'll think about that in a bit. So let's go find this. We need to load the game and then find a character that doesn't have, that has unspent skill points. So it says the mage has 2 unspent skill points. And if we do this, it says the rogue has 1 unspent skill point. So this is the pluralization. We're going to save the game. We're going to put this back into English. I can read things again. And then I want to do this in the way that we would typically have done it with Godot. Yeah. So string tooltip text equals translation server dot translate plural. All right. So how does this work? We pass in a message, a plural name, and then, or sorry, message, plural, n, and then context. Okay. That should be easy, right? Message is going to be this. Plural is going to be this. N is going to be points. We don't need any context for this. And I guess this is the same thing, points greater than 0, that, otherwise string.empty. And then delete this. I don't know why this wouldn't work. This should be very straightforward. Yeah, I don't think this should be a challenge at all. The class display name has points, unspent skill points. Okay, so now all we need to do is format these. Yeah. These two things. And this is actually, okay, so I can do this. I can write the format thing that we would have had here. But this is a little bit tedious. And we need to extract these strings as well. So how do we do this for wild shot? We have translate and then we have format afterward. I guess in either case, this is kind of the same. We just put string.format here and then put comma class display name. Oh, gotta pass it in like this. And points. And then replace these with 0 and replace this with 1. Okay, let's try that now. And then we'll try extracting this string. Funny, the localization tools assume that pluralization works like in English and you only need 2 strings. Yeah. Yeah, there's no more granularity here. Which granted I'm not going to try to do anything about that, but I know in Arabic, for example, there was a special case for having two of something. Okay, so this is looking good. Yeah. So we got the same thing. Now we need it to find this inside here. So we have translate. I guess we're also going to need keyword translate plural. 1, 2, 3C. And then run this. And then go find our template file. Did it work? Did not work. Oh, because it's translation server? I don't know if that part is needed. No, let's just delete that. Let's just get this over to here. And then try that again. Wait, no, I didn't do anything. Hang on a second. Delete. Okay, try that again now. Mainly interested in German because of my choice of genre. Anyone know if German translations have problems beyond words being long? The only other problem I can see German words having is with diacritics. There are very few English words that have diacritics. And there are more German words that do. And then there's what, one other character in German that doesn't exist in English? Is it called an esset? Yeah. I'm probably pronouncing it stupidly, like an American, but whatever. Yeah, this. And then, is there anything else? I don't know. I think that's it. That's all I can think of at least. All right, what did I just check? Oh yeah, did it generate the... No, it didn't. Okay, what am I doing wrong here? 1, 2... This is technically not context. So translate plural... There are a few different formats that can work here, and I've got to figure out the right one here. Looks for strings in first and second. Treats them as singular and plural variants. So do I need another instance of this? Like that? I'm not certain. I don't know why I just ran this. There was no point in doing that. I meant to run this thing. Oh, that worked. Interesting. Okay, now what happens if I do this and I put in a context? Where's context go? The final one? Yeah, final one. Okay, so we put testeroni here. That should generate it. Should just modify this. Why didn't it? Oh, God, you can probably only have one of these. Oh, because it's the fourth argument. It's not the third argument. Ah. Hey, look at that. It worked. Okay. Whew. So now we can delete this and it should still generate this. Good. Perfect. Okay. All that's fine. All right. So pluralized strings work totally fine. The thing I don't like, and now we got to figure this out, is what are we doing about formatting for these? Oh, hey, Flo. Sorry, I missed you joining because your name starts with an A and it's the same color as ABC. And that's all I ever look at. I just saw orange and A. And I'm like, oh, ABC is just talking about German now. Hold on. All right, so I love to remove the common formatting from here. And there is a way we can do this, but I think it's going to be a little bit strange. So here's how I think this could work. We could pass in something like this. And 2 represents a yellow exclamation mark. And that's it. And then we have pretty much one string for this stuff. And we could reorder these if we wanted to as well. Yeah, I think that would look a little bit cleaner. So we do this. We need a space, but the space would show up in the other thing. Okay, in this particular case, I think it's fine. So we could say a string exclamation mark equals that. And then here we do 2, 2, and exclamation mark. Actually, the exclamation mark could be, we don't need a variable for it, especially because in the ternary case, we'd end up making it for no reason. All right, let's try that now. This is nuts, just nuts. There's so much work. Even if I solved all these problems right now and I was happy with it, there is so much we have to do to get this working. Okay, I think those look exactly the same as they did before. I think the spacing is the same. I can't imagine why it would be different. But yeah, this looks fine. And now these strings are pretty sane. I wonder if you can get around this somehow. Like all of this is exactly the same. And in English, all you need to do is change the S. But in other languages, that may not be the case. I don't think it matters. I also don't know how often we're going to do this. Maybe like 10 times in the game, 20 times in the game. Okay, so what have we not figured out yet? Can we format without a source generator? I think we still need an analyzer when it comes to using strings like this. Okay. What do we do about pluralized strings or strings with formatted parameters? We already figured that out. Need to figure out the ergonomics. I think we figured that out. What do we do about BB code formatting? So we did things a little bit differently here, but I'd like to get another example of this. Let's just search for this and we should find something somewhere. There are only 101 results. I'm kind of surprised about that. I don't want that, that. Yeah. All right, so something like this is kind of a mess. Let's just ignore that one for now. I want to look at one that was already translated or localized, I should say. Yuck. Well, this wasn't localized already, but this is what this one looks like. So how about we fill in some things here? Collect 2 more. I'm just going to write some things here. Small blue potion for the guild to further train your rogue, granting +5 life and +6 power. Current bonuses +5 health. Oh, interesting. This says life and this says health. I didn't even realize that. That's technically a mistake, right? Huh. Let me go try that out. Grant most things. Show all signs. Grant that. Look at this. Huh, yeah, that is a problem. Okay. All right, well, I'll just write that down over here somewhere. What file is that? Guild supplies? Guild supplies.cs mentions both life and health in the same tooltip. They should both be health. I would just change this now, but we're right in the middle of something else, and I'm worried that I'm going to forget and then revert it. But yeah, this is a very simple change. In fact, I guess I could just do it now and then check it in. Yeah, I should do that. All right, so this should just say health. There, done. Line 77 of this. That's the only thing that changed, right? Yeah. Reword life to health. Okay, so now we can delete this. Oh, man. Okay, so here's what this string should look like. I guess this should say health. And then this should say some amount of power. Huh. That's funny. There's no plus there? No plus there. How did I put that plus there then? Oh, I wrote out +5. Okay. And then color equals saddle brown. All right, so here's what this string looks like, and it's obnoxious. So how would we parameterize this, I guess, and not have to worry about this? I guess we'd put the bold into the translated thing. And then, oh, there though, it's going to be difficult, right? We only want to format the number. Oh, man. All right, what if we just had a really simple string? Grants +5 life, and the +5 is in bold. How would we localize this? So one way is this. Another way is this. Another way is this. And then 0 would be equal to, and then this is 0 would be equal to, and then this has, bold should be in the template, not in the parameter. Well, I want to think about this stuff because I think we have this case in a lot of different parts of the code where we have some formatting and we want to localize something. So, man, if you knew another language, it'd be easy to tell whether this violates expectations, having this here. Grants 0. I guess the it's basically, where does the bold go? If we're always going to bold the number, I think I like this way. Because then we don't need the bold to appear in each language file. Well, actually, I guess in all of these, yeah, in either one of these, we don't need the bold to appear there. But in the first one, we're assuming that every language is always going to have the number and the word life. No, we need to parameterize life if we do that. Yeah, we'd have to say grants this. And then 1 equals life. So that's, yeah, the first way I had that written would not work. All right, so I definitely think this is correct. I want to minimize tags sent to translators. Well, I just don't want the translation file looking like this, where it's like, oh, we have a bunch of formatting in here. You shouldn't localize any of this stuff. So it's kind of weird to have that in the localization file. Because a translator might be like, oh, let me change yellow to whatever my language's word for yellow is. And it's like, well, that would break this. Same thing with changing any of these other tags. So yeah, I think the best way is to do it this way. I'm gonna write this down over here. So as an example, suppose we have this string in English right now. There are a few options for how to localize this. Option 1. Option 2. Option 3. Okay, so I think I like option 2 because then the formatting doesn't appear in the .po files. Yeah. Yeah. Oh man. Okay, let's look for private const string whatever. Actually, let's do it this way. Let's search for equals dot star and then a square bracket. That didn't work. Why didn't that work? Because we never had that? Oh, because it might be on another line? Oh, man. All right, /n/n/n. Okay, no, it's not on another line. We never do this, or am I searching for the wrong thing? How is it? Yeah, weird. Oh, wait. Oh, because there's no space there. Oh, my bad. I'm still messing something up. Oh, right, because I didn't do that either. I just didn't want the equal sign. There we go. Okay, now I do that. All right, so there are 3 of them. These, for example. All right, so let's see what one of these would look like, because this is what we've actually done for real over here. So following my logic, we would write it out like this. Plus 0 sludge. And then in parentheses, 1. And 0 would be equal to delta. And 1 would be equal to... Oh, no, we can't do that. We need... Oh, God. No, yeah, we can't. I'm so confused. We pass in the formatted thing, but in this case, it was a number. Okay, so this is a bad example. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, this is bad. It won't work when there's a word to be formatted, not just a number. All right, so here's our string, right? We have +5 sludge spicy. What we would have to do, option 1 would be +0 sludge. And then put the word for spicy like that. 0 is 5, 1 is spicy. Option 2 would be something like this. This can't possibly work, right? Because then the code would have to know that, yeah, it can't work. Anything that might be in a different language would have to change. I guess it could just be hard coded. The formatting and the translated word would be in the localized file. Oh boy. There's no way to omit that? We need like, okay, well, there is a way to omit it, but it's stupid. We'd have to do something like this. 1, 2, 3. And then 1 is equal to color equals red. 2 is equal to spicy. And 3 is equal to /color. This is incredibly stupid. Yeah. That way the AI doesn't translate them. Yeah, I'd like for the formatting to not appear in those localized files at all, but the only way I can think to do that is this way. Is there some other way we could do this? Because like I said, this is super ugly. Wait a second. Why? No, yeah. Oh, man. The only way we could have something like color equals red not show in the translation file is if it's parameterized. And if you parameterize this, you need a parameterized closing tag. I can't think of any other way to do this than this way. Or we just have the tag show up in the localization file. And I guess maybe we could somehow get the translation tool to not translate them. Or anything in square brackets we just negate in the end anyway. The other problem that's going to happen here is, let's say we change this and we're like, oh, you know, instead of red, let's turn this to dark red. It's like now we just changed all of our translation files. Well, I guess that would happen. Well, no, that wouldn't happen in this style. But here's another problem with this. Problems 1 and 3 are for formatting, but it won't be obvious to the localizer that this is the case and that they need to surround words. Also, every single time we have formatted text, we would need to do this. This scales poorly. We need 2 formatting parameters for every tag that we use. And it end up in weird ways. Like we'd have like 1, 2, 3, 4 to have some text here. And then 1 is like a color tag. 3 is, or I guess 4 would be the close color tag. 2 would be like a font size. And then 3 would be the close font size. I wonder what people do about this sort of thing. Let's look it up. Godot for like localized BB code. How do I add BB code to text that can be changed via localization? So I want a rich text label with the text glitching. However, when I put BB code in the text, localization breaks. Whereas the translating explains that in code, object.tr can be used. This will just look up the text in the translations and convert it if found. As for your case in specific, I recommend posting your code for next time, but for this case, something like this would work. So they're just translating like menu new game in this case. What am I missing? Because this seems very straightforward. Oh, I guess we make this its own string. Option 4, split into 2 strings. So plus 0 sludge, where 0 is equal to 5. And then, no, wait, but, wait. Oh, we just don't translate. And then a non-translated string with color equals red, 0/color. And then 0 is equal to spicy in this case. Oh. Isn't this a mess if you're formatting like a bunch of things? I guess I need to just try it in some real world examples. What else do they mention here? They don't talk specifically about rich text labels. All right. Yeah, so I think this is the way we would do this. How would it have worked over here? The split in 2 strings part. I guess we don't need to split it into 2 strings if it's just a number. Wait, but then we need something combining all of this, don't we? So this would be the spicy message. One is a non-translated string. No, it has to be translated. Oh my God, I'm so confused. Yeah, I'm confused. Let me look at this again. In one language, the order might be different in another. Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to account for that. So here they have a string that is not translated, but it gets a parameter that is translated. Oh, I see. Yeah, we just do that. Okay. Okay. All right. So let's go change it with a chef slime and just figure this out. Actually, should I even bother doing this? Probably not. Well, maybe I should. All right, let's start with something, I guess, easier to do. So maybe on the title screen, let's change, I don't know, the new game button. New game, where's the button? Where's the button? Oh, it's called story mode now. Ah, there it is. Story mode button.text. Okay, so whoops. I need to get rid of what was on my clipboard. That's okay, we'll put it back here. All right, so we're gonna do translate this. Then we need to use the translation server. So plus delta sludge. This is going to be 0. And what else does this look like? 0 sludge 1. And then we string dot format this. This is going to be great. And we get the delta and the spicy message. So now delta is just a number. And the spicy message is a non-translated string that looks like that. But this part is translated. I wonder if we can do this inside of an interpolated string and still have the get text thing catch this. So this would be translate spicy. And it would be in parentheses, I guess. Not that that matters. All right, now what's the problem here? Cannot convert from string to vector 2. Node 2D.translate. Oh, God. Come on. No. Why does that have to be named translate? Oh, I was worried about that. Although, why can't I find the correct one? It should know that this takes in... Well, yeah, what am I doing wrong? All right, well, let's just change these to translation servers then. Does that work? It does work. So now it's not going to find it through over here. Maybe we should replace translate with just our TR function that we define and just hope there's never a collision with anything else. All right, well, translation server dot translate. I'm not sure if that's even needed. We should probably take a look at that. There would be 2 of these that are needed though, right? One like that and one like that. Okay, whatever. Let's just run this. So we should see +5 and then spicy on the new game button. And it doesn't prove anything yet, but... Oh, it's got to be BB code. All right, buttons don't work that way. Well, technically it worked, but yeah, there's no... How do we do this? How about I just do this a cheapo way? Let's just go to the title screen and let's just add a rich text label somewhere. So let's add in a control and then a rich text label and then put this here in the middle of the screen. BB code, this will be changed. How do I make this larger? There we go. All right, anything else I need to do? Fit content, word wrap, I don't care. And stop clipping. And then we call this delete me. All right, so rich text label, testeroni equals get node, delete me. Then we set the text of that. And now I run this, and it should actually be in red, and it should say +5 spicy. Yeah. So there it is. And now we run this thing and go over to our template file, and we see the word spicy here, and we see this. Yeah. So in Spanish, let's try this out. We would, where's the Spanish file? We replace this with Spanish, and then this would say something like +0. So let's just capitalize it just to make sure it's doing something. All right, so it's going to be exactly the same because I haven't changed it to Spanish. And when I change it to Spanish, I'll need to restart it because this is only done at startup. But now it should say +5 capitalized sludge Spanish in parentheses. Yeah, nice. And that's in red. Okay, I think that's our answer. I don't know how unwieldy this is going to be. Like, how bad was this? I mean, delta is 5. We don't need to consider that. So now we have the color inside this. And then string.format, we're translating this. So we got 2 different translated strings. Okay. Yeah, I think this is our answer. This way, no formatting appears in the translation file. And we don't need string.format parameters for BB code formatting. Oh man. Okay. Let's save that example somewhere. All right. Make sure we looked into plural messages. We did that. If we aren't using this, delete them and add their code to deleted code. Sure. Look for dot messages to see where we use a particular message. I think we can still do this by having a static property that calls translate each time. Sure. Let's just find one example of this. Here's one. Get warehouse name. Where is that? Warehouse name is warehouse. So what would we do instead here? We'd have a private, well, we'd have, let's just type something out here. Public static string. It's not even a string, right? It'd be like get warehouse name, and it's going to turn into translation server dot translate warehouse. Yeah, that's it. Now, why is this yellow? Because it's not used? No, because it's in the wrong order. And then, yeah, we would just call this. Okay, so this should be fine. I don't think we're going to have a problem with that. When it comes to source generators, blah, blah, blah. Can we get rid of join existing? Yes, we can. And we already did, I think. Yeah. What do we do about finding only strings we want to translate? We did that already. Where do we manually override a translation if we're going to generate .pop files from scratch? You can't add a comment without getting deleted. What? Right. So we need to know if a human wrote a string or if a machine wrote a string. Huh. But can't we just do that here? This was written by a human. All right, so if we regenerate the files, what happens? Does it keep that comment? It should. It deleted it. Oh, yeah. It's over. It's all over. Can we put it down here? I don't think so. I don't think this is gonna work. It's gone. It's gone. How do we know that we wrote it then? I guess no matter what, we could keep an external database, but I'd love to have it inside this file. We could, but I don't know what we'd be writing for this. Man, how do we know this? We need some way of tracking whether a human wrote this or a machine wrote this. Because if a human wrote it, we want to trust that it's better than what a machine would have written. And if we could just keep comments here, and I could write something like last updated on date by a human, then we would know not to pass this to the API for translation. But I can't put a comment here because it'll get deleted. Is there a way to not have it get deleted? Add comments, language from code, force PO, sort by file. I don't think so. Hey, Codex, is there a way to add a comment near the string in the code? Yes, there is. But I want to do this for a specific language. So for example, let's say we have this scenario. We have a word like bone. And in Spanish, we translate it to, Spanish bone. And in French, we translate it to French bone. But then in German, it's like it should be some like totally different word. A human set this. If we set it in the code here, if we're like whatever comment, this would now show for all of these. And we only want it to be for the German one to be like, hey, just so you know, a human came up with a better word. So we need some way of saying it for just the German translation. And I don't know how we're going to do that. I mean, we could have a database that keeps track of this stuff. It just seems like it's tedious, and then it wouldn't be next to the localization. So that when something gets populated, like we need to interface through a tool. I don't know what we do about that. Is there any other thing that we could... Wait, where did I write all the comment styles? I18MMD. Here it is. Comment for the translator. Maybe we could put this in here? Yeah. Maybe that'll work. Where's the Spanish file now? Spanish. All right, so it says comment for the translator, literally. Oh, that's maintained. Oh, well, that's easy. Okay, well then that's what we do. We just put a regular comment here. The hyphen shouldn't be needed either. This is a test of the comment. Oh, I thought, what's the one with a dot then? What was I doing? A dot is extracted from the source code. Oh, okay. Yeah, of course. Of course. Comment that references source code where given message is used. Comment that holds flags for get text tool. Comment that represents previous string key followed by message ID keyword. Okay. So yeah, we just put a comment above it. Well. It's pretty easy, but you don't even need that because this diagnostic is already available. You only need to set warning CA2241 to be treated as an error in project file. Whoa. Thank you for doing that. I don't even know where we do that stuff. I think it's an editor config. CA2241. We don't have that turned on, so I guess let's just turn it on. 41 severity equals error. If this actually works, I'd be kind of impressed because it's being run through Translate already. How do we test this? We go over to here and maybe we rerun. I don't know. Let's try not putting this in. So this should detect it as an error. I don't think this is going to work because I think it needs to detect it all in a single string format, and it's being run through Translate, and Translate could do anything. So there's, yeah, probably something else I need to do. Maybe reloading this is enough, but I I don't feel like it would be. Oh, wait, no, this isn't actually the problem. The problem is when you have too many. Oh, now I deleted this. Yeah, so what my guess is if we said return string.format 0, that this would be detected as a problem. Well, I guess we put this here. It actually did not detect it as a problem. Oh, wait, now it did? Invalid string format. High string format item index should not be greater than argument count. Yeah, so we would need it to take it from the string and translate. Also, if I turn this off over here, or I just delete the line entirely, it doesn't do this by default? Waiting for it to finish. No, I guess it doesn't do it by default. That's kind of... Oh, wait, no, does it? Invalid string format. Oh, it does. Okay. Yeah, so it does it by default, but it won't do it through this because of translate returning potentially a different string altogether. So we need to somehow know this. C# format parameter count matching translated not string. I don't know. It's a very specific thing. Yeah, I don't know about that. Custom analyzer, yeah. I don't know how hard it would be to write that. Because ideally what we would do is we would check for when string.format takes in a call to translate and then just take its first string and validate it. Although there might be a translate plural. Man. But thanks for looking into that. All right, where do we leave off with this? Oh, yeah. So you can add this. You can add a with no period, though. Oh, my God. I don't know what's happening. There. Ideally, want to be able to regenerate an entire language. Probably need to know when you last generated a particular string. Also want to know when you've overridden a string in a language. You mark some as ignorable. Okay, so all that's pretty much handled, or at least we have a way of handling it. If we're using this, I don't know how we'd add in context from the code. So we would either use, what is it? Add comment equals I18N. Where is that? Yeah. Or we would, yeah. Or we would use the literal context string, like abilities. All right, what else? How do we handle text formatting? So we did this. Maybe we should test it with this. No, it's just we're going to have a string that just has a translated thing like that. All spirits benefit from power. It'll be the note. Every note is going to be... Okay, yeah, sure. Formatted strings like a hotkey showing in bold. I don't want the AI to translate the bold tags, yeah. Do I want a spreadsheet of everything? I don't think a spreadsheet is a good idea because it needs to stay in sync with the code. Conclusion, a spreadsheet would need to stay in sync with the code, and I don't think it's worthwhile to do this until we identify a problem. How we annotate the files, can we add context or variable names or the metadata? Display name for ability, it's not obvious that this is for the display name. I think if we just say abilities or ability names or something, I think it'll be fine. Yeah. If we use AI, are we giving AI access to the code? Can we have Copilot change strings? If we use community translations, we could have support through Discord. All right, so I don't know what we're going to do for community translations yet. We need to finish localizing for English. So this is like where I left off. How much more of this is there? I guess only some of this is really needed, right? This and this. And a different font. So I'll just bump this to the bottom. Okay. So I think we figured out a decent chunk of this stuff, but I don't want to go convert the entire code base unless I'm pretty confident that this is the way forward. The other thing I kind of wonder is rather than using this translation server and have a function called translate, which will apparently run into issues when you have, where was that problem that we had? It was on the title screen. It'll run into issues when you have a node. It's going to try to call the nodes translate. I wonder if we should rename this to tr and put it on our own file and just have it be a thin wrapper around the translate function. But is tr used somewhere already? It is. It's in Godot object. Wait a second then. Can't we just use that? Oh. I think I was being stupid. Yeah, I think we can use this. Yeah. Yeah, so this could have just been tr the whole time, right? Oh my god. That's even easier. Which now means this needs to change to have tr and trn. And trn probably looks like message plural. Yeah, it looks like translate plural. Interesting. Yeah, that makes this even more ergonomic. So we just copy paste all of this and change this to tr and this to n. Ooh. Ooh-wee. Okay. What about wild shot? That doesn't inherit from a Godot node, does it? No. So we couldn't have used tr in here. Translate. Yeah, we can't. Also, out of curiosity, no, yeah. Does this just call into tr? Are these the same? It's hard to tell. So Godot object is tab 16. And then this is tab 3. So I want to put this next to 16 and see how they're different. It looks like it's just calling two different things altogether. Yeah, Godot I call 280 and 869. And this takes in the singleton. Okay, I see. Hey, Kevin. Oh. Okay, I figured out quite a lot. And I think to answer your PR, I think in general, what I think we should do is make a new analyzer that simply checks that our string.format has the right number of params, but then we just switch to using 0 and 1 and whatever else. I think it's just gonna, yeah, I think this is what we should do. But the make a new analyzer part, I don't think is very easy to do, although maybe it is. But I've got answers for practically everything else. The only thing I haven't figured out is what we do for community translations. So every string already has a unique ID in the form of message ID. And then sometimes it's a unique combination of both context and ID. And we'd want some way of showing this to players, but in a numerical fashion, probably. Translations are trickier since the context of what that word is not there. That is true, but the other thing I was thinking about is, and I had this written out somewhere earlier. I closed the tab. But anyway, you would have some like hurls a fireball at an enemy for damage. You'd have something like this. And then in another language, oh yeah, here it is. So like you'd have this. and this. And then this 5 would get replaced. So now in French, you have French, 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 English, French, 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 English, and then a bunch of French. And I wasn't sure if that would be confusing at all. Now, with that said, you'll always see the English right next to this, right? Because the ID of the string is going to be this. So if we go into the Spanish text that we have, yeah, like this, erratically shoots at a single enemy. So you can look at here and be like, oh, 0 is damage. So you'll have this right in the localization file. So I don't think it's actually not, sorry, I don't know what I just said. I don't think it's a big drawback. Or even a drawback at all. And it makes these strings smaller, which is kind of nice. And I guess you'll also have this in the English in the code too. Yeah. Yeah. Oh man. Okay. I feel like we've answered almost everything except the community translation thing. So that is the last difficult puzzle we have to solve. So like, how would we allow the community to help with translations? And then more like, is it a number? Is it a noun? Oh, I see what you're saying. There could be a number or something like fire damage. Yeah. Yeah. That's true. Yeah. Yeah, this is the typical like JavaScript problem that we have where you pass in a parameter without a type, you don't know what it's supposed to represent or what members it might have. All right, that is true. I should probably write this up here. Where is it? Main benefit is knowing the number of parameters will match. Secondarily, it's helpful to the descriptive name for a parameter can be nice because may indicate to a localizer, may indicate some context to a localizer, e.g. deals damage uh, 0 may be a number, deals 5 damage, or a type, deals fire damage. Adding a comment above the line and getting that in the POT may help for truly ambiguous cases, but those can also be added as found. Yeah, I guess the other thing to consider is that, well, maybe a couple things to consider. One is that any mistakes will hopefully get caught and corrected. Like, let's say, well, first of all, I don't know why someone would type in fire in that case, but let's say someone they typed in fire and it says like deals fire damage now. Hopefully someone would realize this doesn't make any sense and it would get fixed. And it's not like it causes an exception or stops people from playing the game. And the other thing is that, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, we should have some like kind of templates. So every time you see like deals 0 damage, it's pretty much always going to be a number. But I guess you don't know if it's going to be a percent or something. I don't know. But yeah, I guess that is where the comments can help. All right, so how would we allow the community to help with translations? So some high-level options is have a tool directly in the game to change a string. This would probably be impossibly difficult, or not worth the effort, I should say. Especially with templated strings. Like deals 5 damage is actually a string of deals like that. So option 2 is have some way of identifying strings and allowing people to submit a change. And I think this is what we're going to go with. This is pretty quick to do via Discord. But how would we identify strings? So let's say you have the option turned on. There's some checkbox somewhere that says like identify strings to help with localization. And now you run the game and there needs to be some identifier somewhere. So maybe each button, each string that you see would have a number next to it. We could have, I mean, probably a 4-digit number. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, new game, 5, 6, 7, fireball, 5, 6, 8, shoots a fireball at an enemy. And then someone would just say like, oh, hey, string 5, 6, 8 should actually say hurls a fireball at an enemy. But how would we even get those in the UI? Yeah, I think that would be difficult. So here we have translate, and it just has the string. We'd almost want to swap out our own translate function, which we could do. We could wrap translate in our own call, and when, well, like we check for a Boolean. So how does this work right now? We currently, let's just take a thing here. So we currently have this. And let's just delete the context for this. It doesn't really matter. So we can make our own public static string translate. And it takes in the name. And it's going to eventually return translation server.translate name. But if the like localization help is on, then we return some like hash plus the name. So yeah, that's what it would look like. Just comment on all of that stuff. And the hash needs to be like hash string name. And we need some way of turning it into a deterministic, like it's always the same. And for that, what we could do is we could ship a file that just has all of the different names in there. We'd also potentially need the context for this. Context. Or maybe we could put a question mark. I don't know. But yeah, this would probably be the easiest way of doing this. And then every single time that string shows up, we just show it with the hash. And private static string hash string name string context would return something like hash, and hash would be something. Figure this out. I also learned yesterday that source generators can swap function calls in code. Interesting. I think like source generators seem very powerful, but they're also kind of sort of like preprocessor macros in that just by reading the code, you can't possibly tell what something does. You need to go to the definition of functions, which means you need a whole environment set up to find out, oh, this is not actually the function call it looks like. Now, with that said, I think having some static function that we have where we funnel all of our translations through this, I think would be okay. So yeah, how would this work? We would need message ID and message ctxt to always return the same number for all players. Do we need those numbers to be resilient to string changes? Because what we could do is we could just hash both of these in a way that hopefully doesn't have collisions. Although I want it to be a small number as well. Do we want only small numbers? So I think the best way of doing this is we just maybe we could emit a number with each translation or with each string in the .po file. Wait, how would that help us though? The runtime, we need to know this. Ugh. Yeah, I guess we could emit a mapping file when we produce the .po files. It would simply have every message ID and message ctxt and the number. Yeah. So that's how we would do it, or how we could do it. Hmm. But the resilient to string changes or resilient to version numbers, that might be tough because someone might be on like version 0.9.1 and their wild shot has an ID of like 123. So you see this in the tooltip. Okay, that's fine. But then in version 0.9.2, maybe this changes to something drastically different. And then someone submits something saying, "Oh, hey, change string 789 to I don't know, crazy shot or something like that." And I'm like, I don't know what language this is, let's say. So I don't know that that doesn't make sense. I guess we could I guess we could just ask them for what version of the game they're on. So they have to submit two numbers. So they say change string 789 v 0.9.2. Yeah. In fact, maybe there's a tool in the game, a quick tool in the game. You press F12 and it spawns a dialog with two inputs, string number and suggested string, or maybe three inputs, maybe comments too. And then it sends that info to my mini PC in the living room. I don't care about where the mini PC is. Yeah, that would work pretty well, I think. Oh, you'd also have to say what language, I guess. String suggestion, string language, and then string comments. Yeah. Is this smart? It's not that hard to do this. Yeah, so then it would handle getting the version and figuring out which string that corresponds to. I don't know why I'm so torn on this. Also, if we're going to do this, we pretty much need to do this from the beginning because we need to wrap this function or use a source generator that replaces the function call with our function. All right, well, what am I? Let's just spew some thoughts here then, right? If we do this, we should probably do this from the beginning so that every function, every translated string goes through the same function. And I guess my hesitation is around whether this will provide value. It probably will, but we need some custom instructions. Yeah, for translators. Yeah, it probably will. That's as good as I can get, I think. Someone will see a string in the game, they'll be like, that doesn't look right. And they'll press F12 and turn on this translate mode. And now instead of seeing story mode, bone mode, and then this, you would see like 123 story mode, 124 bone mode. You'd be like, for string 124, that's actually wrong. So you press, F12 and it pops up a little dialogue and you type in the details. And then I can go fix that string. I don't know why I think I just need to sit on this for a little while longer. All right, let's write down the community idea at least for this. Yeah, so the proposal is this. Every time we produce a new game version, part of what we do is come up with a file for string IDs. It just needs the message ID, message context, and we'll generate an incrementing ID for each string. This file is tied to the version of the game, since different versions may have wildly different numbers. Then players can press F12 or something to open up a submission form for a string change. And we'd probably pass in these things. It would take in the string number from the file we produced, the language that the player wants to suggest string for, the new string, and then any comments the person may have in English. Yeah, so it would send the information to my mini PC where it would store this in a database for me to look at. Maybe they should have like, what might be kind of interesting is like people can only use this if they have a password and it actually asks for the password every time. Or I don't know, when you first started the game or something. And that way I'm only getting translations from people that I like assigned to be translators. I think that's overkill. Yeah, I don't think we should do anything that's overkill right now. What am I missing though? There's some other piece of this I'm missing. Oh yeah, the wrapping this. Yeah. We wrap our calls to TR or translate in something like this. Pull this from the file. This way people can see each string identifier without having to screenshot anything. After they pick the number, it should probably show the string right there in the UI so they can confirm that it's correct. Maybe it even shows the localized version. A dozy burrito. This should be a drop down. the new string. It's automatically set to their locale. Wait a second. Why would that even be the case? Why should they be able to specify this? No, this is probably not something. Just be set to their locale. Well, I don't know. I guess it can validate that something is a particular language. So if they accidentally chose French and they provided a Spanish string, it should be pretty apparent. A new string, any comments the person may have. Then send the information to my mini PC. Okay. All right. Well, that's it. We've come up with everything, right? No, we're gonna need a tool to find obsolete or fuzzy strings. I guess this should be part of the release process. Oh, I don't like that at all. Directives like this. What is this? Oh yeah, that needs to be done. Yeah, well, I think oh, I just every time I've come to a conclusion here, I'm like, okay, this is gonna add another like 2 days or 3 days or something. So yeah, this is already done. Flagging obsolete or fuzzy strings. Yeah. Make the community tool. Oh man, what else? Localize the whole game. Switch, like make sure every string in the code base is localized. All these files contain strings. What was that we have here? Print. This is to find something that doesn't contain source generators. Command that finds all files that do not contain a line. We probably don't need this anymore. Contain strings that need to be localized. Yep. Great. Wait a sec. Yeah. Okay. See the icon extract strings. I don't need to do it. Top priority, figure out word burden. Then actually start translating stuff. Oh, I never even did that. Write the tooling that will handle translations, machine translations. We need a comment to, we need to find any strings that have never been translated and translate them and add a comment. And yeah. It's not trivial, but also not super hard. Basically, I used template for analyzers and added some ifs to check the thing. Oh man, really? Do you mind sharing that code? Because if so, that just marks something off of our to-do list right now, which would be pretty great. And we need to write notes about all this stuff. In fact, I kind of want to do this now. I'll put it somewhere. All right, thank you very much. Yeah, that would be incredibly helpful. All right, and then we'll put a proposal thing here. So I'll bookmark this, copy this, put this down here. Okay. What time is it? 10:06. In the right words once I have that. Workflow, localize rest of the code base. Yeah, crazy. Crazy. This is Man, I could understand if you're not super technical, or maybe you just don't care about this stuff, why you might want a company to help you do this sort of thing. In the end, it's not like this is that hard. And some of these things you could probably just skip altogether or just do manually. Like this thing about the analyzer, if we didn't have the analyzer, you could still just test your game in every language. So, yeah, you don't have to have a way of doing this. It certainly helps. All right, so notes. I do want to write this. Do we have anything about localization or internationalization or global or anything? No, we don't. And not all of this is Godot specific. Can I reveal this in navigation? Do I have anything in here? No, I don't. I kind of want to make a new file in here and talk about this stuff. Yeah, so internationalization in Godot. Is that what they call it? I I can't remember. Internationalizing games, yeah. Okay. Overview. So this note covers what we did for Skeleseller to internationalize slash localize the game. Godot has documentation on the general process here. Did they talk about get text? Oh, they do. Oh, what about xget text? Is xget text just the what's the X for? What's the difference between this and get text? Both integral components of GNU get text. Get text is a runtime library function. Build time utility. Oh, I think I understand. One will get the strings from the file, the other will get the translated text from your translation file. Okay, yeah. Okie dokie. All right, well, I want to see if I can sum up everything that we've done. For Skeleseller, we used C#. So this note will talk about, yeah. I'll just put it in parentheses here, which used C#. Okay, at a high level, you need to perform these steps. Actually, I should probably say our high level plan was use machine translations as a foundation for various languages. Note the languages to target, at least in 2025, seem to be, where are those languages? These. Copy Markdown. Yeah, I don't like that. I want hyphens. Okay, so allow for community contributions to, yeah, to improve the translations. What else? I think that's pretty much it, right? So the high level plan of what we're trying to accomplish here. Anything else that we have? No, that's about it. For translation, the high level plan was to use machine translation as a foundation and community contributions to improve the machine translations. So at a high level, you need to perform these steps. Find all strings in your code base that should be translated. Then translate those strings. And then use the translated strings accordingly. Finding strings in your code base that should be translated. We use xgetText for this. For C#, it's xgetText requires, I guess, can only find function calls with string literals. Hey Mars, how goes it? So like translate pi, this will be found. Translate some string. This won't be found even if some string definitely points to a string. Hey, yourself. All right. What else should we write down about this? Oh yeah, this page. This was super helpful. This page is super helpful for, I guess I'll just say, here's the documentation for xgetText. It's quite helpful and has some examples. All right, we ended up invoking it like this. Can only find function calls with string literals. As such, it's best to wrap every translated string in some set of known function calls, like translate or translate plural. However, you can pass -- extract all to xgetText to have it extract every string from your files. This would include strings like that, which don't need to be localized. So if you want to prevent finding those, you could make xgetText only search certain files / directories and consolidate all of your strings there. All right, so what do? We called it with all of these and no extract all. Yeah. Okay, so the from files from temp file, what is temp file? Using temp file. What? Oh, we put all file paths in the temp file? Oh, I see. Okay. Some temp file with all file paths in it.txt. I don't know, whatever. Path to file paths in it on separate lines. Yeah. And then output is going to be a pot file. Path to pot file dot pot. Okay. So, whoops. I'll copy this into here. We run xGetText with the following arguments. The keyword arguments are for finding calls in the source C# code. The C that's appended to some of the numbers indicates the context argument, which is, yeah. For example, translate 1, 2C will match translate hello greetings in C# and emit it to the .pot file. Okay. So now we should probably talk about the .pot file a bit. The .pot file is a template and is generated anew every time we run xGetText. However, the .po files are specific to each language and will maintain any comments starting with this in them. That way we can mark metadata about a string, like whether it was localized, whether it was translated by a machine or a human. Translation services. Azure and Google Cloud Platform have very permissive, trainable translation services. I'll just link to those, I guess. Where are they? Here. Azure's and GCP's. At the time of writing, I haven't tried either one yet, but the plan is to use Azure's since they allow, what, 2 million characters? 2 million characters per month for free. All right, what else do we need to write down? We have some of the high-level pieces of this here. Find all strings, so then translate those strings. This can actually link directly to, how do we do this? Finding strings that should be translated. Translate those strings, see translation services, and then using the translated strings accordingly. This is simply a matter of calling into Godot's translation functions, which I think are in this document. They're not in this document. This one, maybe? Huh. They mention the translation server? They do here. Yeah, I don't see it in this file. I just wanted to find where the functions were written, but I don't see it. Localization using spreadsheets. Out of curiosity, what do they do for this? Oh, CSV files. Yeah. Good text, locale codes, pseudo localization. Oh, do they mention something about how to customize this? Configuring it. Oh, nice. Place with accents. Double vowels. Oh, cool. Wow. This is great. Okay, yeah, I should definitely test this out. Test pseudo localization. See the configuration options here. Other helpful tips. Godot has built-in pseudo localization. All right, what else? What else do I need to write down? E.g. trn translation server dot translate. Well, I guess there are only 4, right? We can just write them all, plural, there. I don't even think there are any other ones. All right, any other things I need to write down for this? Because I'll eventually make these notes public, and that way other people can benefit from them. Oh, maybe I should talk about the community stuff. Community contributions. At the time of writing, I haven't coded this yet, but the general plan is every time we release a build, we'll produce a database file with that assigns an incrementing integer to each unique combination of message ID and message context. By having it be an incrementing integer, the numbers should always be low enough for people to type, as opposed to having UIDs for all strings. Ooh, thank you very much, ABC. Yeah, this is fantastic. I will gift you the points after incorporating it, I think. But I really, really appreciate it. So let's write this down. ABC667 made this. I haven't gifted them points yet, but if this works, it's worth like 2-3 points. Yeah, that'll definitely be great. Every time we release a build, produce a database file that assigns an incrementing integer to each unique combination of message ID and message context. Players will be able to enable localization help somehow. By doing this, it'll show the generated IDs for each string directly in the UI. This will be achieved via wrapper functions around Godot's translation functions. If localization help is enabled, it will simply prepend the ID for the translated string. Oh, you know what else we should probably write in this note is how we write about how we handle BB code, string formatting, and pluralization. Players will be able to open a suggestion form. It will ask for the string ID, the language they want to translate to, the translated text, and any comments. It will then send all of that along with the game version to a central server and stick it in a database for later perusal. The game version is needed because the database file may change IDs across game versions. Okay, so string formatting. I guess use this translated strings accordingly. Formatting strings for localization. There are a few cases to accommodate. Pluralized strings, strings with parameters, and strings with BB code or other formatting. Pluralized strings. So Godot has built-in functions for these, e.g. translation, well, not e.g., just trn and translation server.translate plural. So let's just go find the call to translate plural. Oh, also, this is technically... No, this is fine. 1, 2, 3. Oh, I didn't put... Should probably write this down. Note the translation server dot is only needed. Actually, it should never really be needed. Shouldn't really be needed. Yeah. Maybe I just won't write anything about that. But yeah, I don't think we need these. It's just for safety, I guess. Anyway, translate plural was right there. I just lost it. Okay, well, there's our example. We can trim this down to make this easier. I'll just say you have 0 unspent skill points, and that's it. Yeah, so this will generate something like this in the pot file. Can we do this? Yeah, here. 1, 2. Can I just paste that there? Will this work? No. It might work in preview mode. No, that didn't. Or reading mode? Is that what it's called? Oh, yeah, it does work in reading mode. Okay, then that's fine. I'll leave that as is. Source/your file. And then it should say you have unspent skill point. You have unspent skill points. All right, so that was pluralized strings. Strings with parameters. That was done in Wildshot. And that's pretty straightforward too. Wrap your translate call in string.format. Since remember, since you need translate to take in a string literal for xGetText to find it. Yeah. And then the last thing is strings with BB code. All right, let's just do that. Strings with BB code. Strings with parameters. pluralized strings. Nice. Yeah, nice. Okay, so BB code. IMO, you should not have any BB code enter your localization files. For one, your machine translations may try translating them. And they inflate the file and make it harder to tell what's actually localized. Oh, okay. So where do we do this? It was on title screen, I guess. All right, so for this, let's put crit here and something like that. And change that to damage and change this to crit message. String damage string equals this, yeah. I just want to get this to something pretty simple here. All right, so what do I want to write for this? So in the example below, the English, I can't type English anymore. English string emitted is +5 damage crit. Well, it shouldn't have a plus there, I guess. Well, this is supposed to be in red. Yeah, I guess there's no way to render that, is there? Yeah, well, something like that. Okay, so as shown above, the color equals red and its corresponding closing tag color will not appear in the .pot file. All right, so now I put this here. Okay, so this would be crit, and this would be like crit in another language. I don't know what other language we could use as an example, so let's just do that. And then this one says damage like that. Now, what is this C# format here for? Flags for get text tool. And it's for which string? Where'd that go? Yeah, here. It's for the first string. Oh, you know what? Just close every other tab. This is still going to take forever. Oh, man. I had so many tabs open. We've been doing so much. There we go. All right, so where's that title screen? I don't follow. Oh, maybe because this one contained. Yeah, I see. Okay, yeah, that's fine. All right, we don't need the title screen. What did I say in the other one that we had here? Your file.cs, your file.cs. Whew, okay, well, I think this pretty well sums up Everything. About 1,000 words. Is there anything I want to put here that we haven't put here? The only thing I could think is anything I might have written in this. Yeah, maybe we'll write some things about add comments. Oh, is that written over here already? It is. Oh. Add comments equals I18N means that comments in C# that start with I18N will make it to the .pop file. This can be helpful if there are any other which immediately precede a translation call. It can be helpful if there's any context you want to add, e.g. this should always be capitalized or something. I don't know what's an actual comment you might want to write for this. This should be a short string. I don't know. Yeah. All right, so we wrote about that. The other thing I wanted to write about was context. Yeah, I did not write about that. Yeah, I'll write it here. The context can be helpful if you have many strings that are the same in English, but may not be the same in... Wait, that's not true. It's... I guess it would have to be the same in English. Although, no, it doesn't have to be. I guess it could still just... All right, how about this? Yeah, but it may not have the... But may not be same in other languages. For example, we have an ability called boulder. Actually, I don't even know if we have that. May have an ability called boulder and a sign in the game that says watch over the boulder. This is so stupid. What's an actual example of a thing that you might have? Maybe like a spell name and an item or something. I can't think of one. Yeah, I don't know. And an item. The context could be set to abilities or items appropriately. All right, any other things that made it in here? Well, I guess I added everything to the bottom, right? I think I want to delete the join existing. We do not use join existing so that the .pot file will be generated anew every time we run this. This is so that comments don't accumulate in the file, e.g. due to changing the line number of a translated string in C# and then calling xgetText again. The PO files themselves are specific. Each language will maintain any comments starting with this in them. even across X get text generations by using these comments. We can mark metadata about a string like whether it was translated by a machine or a human. Cool. Okay. I think we've written everything out. I don't think there's anything else I want from here. Even this file, I18N, probably needs to be changed. Well, we have all of our work cut out for us. I think I want to aim to get this stuff done by the end of the 14th if we can. But that might not even be doable. I guess it depends on how much AI can help us write these translate calls and the community tool and whatever else. Yeah, we got a lot of stuff to do. Oh yeah, obsolete and fuzzy strings. I should probably write that down. Obsolete and fuzzy strings. And a fuzzy comment. Do we have fuzzy written in there somewhere? Yeah. And it's like this. Means an update was made to the source such that the translation probably needs to be looked at. For example, if you change Fireball to Fireball 2 in C#, you'll get the fuzzy tag in the resulting. Is it in the POT file? It is, but is it also in the individual translations? It is, yeah. Yeah, cool. Wow. Wow. Yeah, I've learned quite a lot. I think this will serve as a pretty good foundation for anyone who wants to do localization in the future and just wants to know generally what goes into it. Like this and then the last two streams, I don't think you'd want to watch whatever it is, 10 hours of me fumbling around. But at least I got the notes out of it. And who knows, we haven't done some of these things yet. So maybe I'll just look over my notes again. Look over my Obsidian notes, which is, can I copy the name of this? Rename. To see if anything needs to be updated. There were a few at the time of writing comments that I may want to amend. Oh my God. So much. Hey Ryan. How you doing? And then see if anything else in the conclusions from the prior section should be captured. Yeah. Hopefully figured out all of the remaining localization problems. I haven't written much code or changed much yet. And our work is certainly cut out for ourselves. Man, the nice thing is if any of this stuff does work, we will have translated at least to these languages at the time of launch, which would help the game spread. I'm doing very well. I was worried about today because if we didn't come to conclusions about this, this could just keep stretching and stretching. But I've got a plan for everything now. And I think the plan is sound. I want to spend this afternoon. What time is it right now? Yeah, 10:47. I want to spend this afternoon looking into doing translations on Azure. And ideally, I guess, I have some API harness set up so that I can just do this sort of thing. Like I give it a string and it gives me back another string. And like, that's that. Now you might say, why even do that if you already literally have Google Translate here? And it's like, I'd like to do this via API so that I can just run some tool that I write on a file, like this one, for example, and it'll go through all of them and say, you, what? Let's see, 1/lost. Oh, this is probably set via code. Scripts.pot. Okay, so I could give it something like wild shot and it'll just come up with a thing for me. Without giving it context, though, I think this is going to be difficult. Hey, Bedro. What in translation? Yeah, I think this is going to be difficult. And I wonder what this would even translate to if I just type this in. Spanish. Yeah, I have no idea. But I think this would be tough. This is where I think an LLM would probably be better suited for this. It's going pretty well. made some good progress. So Wednesday, I guess, is just going to be to continue working on this stuff. But I think more specifically what I want to do, should we start with a community tool? Or maybe do the machine translations? One of those two things should probably be first. And probably the analyzer would be good to do. Oh, and then the other thing we got to do is make sure localization is exposed by default for playtesters. I think there's a flag hiding it for now. And we got to check in what I've already done, right? What have I done? Maybe make sure all of the languages. Make sure all of the languages exist and have been added to the project settings of Godot. Probably write instructions about this. Make sure display names of abilities are accessed dynamically. So that the language can be changed on the fly. Hey, Dad Walking. Thank you very much. Good to be back. Good to be working again. I feel like I've got a pretty good rhythm going, although it's only been a day and a half since vacation. And yet, I think my sleep schedule is messed up. And then daylight saving time didn't help. Yeah. What else do I have here? Hmm. Yeah. What did I do for vacation? I went to Boston and Cape Cod and another place. The other place I haven't mentioned. But yeah, we went to a wedding. We met up with some friends. We went to Harvard. A lot of cool things. And the fall colors were wonderful. I don't know if I can share any of those pictures. Let me see. No, not really. There's some amount of personal information in most of them. Except for this picture I can share. Look at this. I think this was when we were at Harvard, walking over the bridge. A reunion type? Like a vacation? Not quite. I mean, I hadn't seen some of these people in a while, but it wasn't specifically a reunion. Love the fall colors. Yeah. I really like the Pacific Northwest, I gotta say. I love where we live. I think it's great. Even this time of year, well, now it's sunny outside and nice. But even if it were gray, I don't really mind it at all. I also just bought heated gloves. My fingertips get pretty cold. So I wanted to see if these things help. It hasn't been cold enough to really need them yet, but they were at Costco, so I picked them up. All right, so at some point I got to check this stuff in. These I can delete. Yeah, I might as well get rid of that. And then delete the stuff from title screen.cs. I have pretty much this exact same thing already typed out. So let's not worry about that. All right, this can be deleted. Get description. Yeah, that'll be gone eventually. This format isn't needed anymore, right? Yeah, we're not going to use this at all. This I'll turn off too. This is definitely not needed. And then what else do we have? Whew. Wonder how many strings we're going to have. Hey, Tyrion. Pacific Northwest is so nice year round for different reasons. Yeah. Yeah, I really appreciate the seasons now, especially spring and fall. Not a big fan of summer. Summer were cooler, I'd be a bigger fan. Okay, so I think that's probably going to be it for today's stream. It's been about 2.5 hours. Tuesday mornings, that's kind of all I'm trying to do is kickstart my day. And what I want to do in the afternoon is something I can't really stream, which is set up Azure and try out some translation stuff. And then I think tomorrow we're going to kick off a bunch of work. There's some of it'll be fun, some of it'll be difficult, and some of it is going to be like brain dead boring. That'll probably go on for like a week. Just realized Godot has a binding for Go. Plus Godot seems like natural pair. Go Godot. You went full cannonball run? What does that mean? Diverse group of racers gather in Connecticut to participate in the cannonball run. Cross-country road race. No. No, we flew. And thankfully, air travel wasn't disrupted for us. It was pretty smooth. And I got lucky, I think on my flight back, there was no one sitting in between me and the next person. So I got to stretch out a little bit. All right, well, I think we're in pretty good shape. I am not going to belabor this any longer. Let me see if someone is online to raid. Yeah, let's raid Cavino. All right, thank you all for watching. If you'd like to join Discord, if you'd like to check out the game, there are some links. I'll be back online tomorrow. It should be a full day tomorrow. Let me kick off my raid command here. It should be a full day tomorrow. It'll hopefully be a little bit more interesting than today. So thanks for bearing with me. And I will hopefully see you all tomorrow. Have a good rest of your day.